INSBE have unparalleled expertise in creating and delivering software services, driving long-term enterprise strategy solutions and business transformation expertise for a wide range of organisations across all sectors. That's a lot, isn't it? Well, I'm delighted to say that joining me in the studio to discuss what the company does is Kadir Özbayram and Klaus Isenbecker. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Now, I want to start with what I refer to in the introduction. This is business transformation. Now, some people think anyone can tell us what that is, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Is there a straightforward definition?
Business transformation is a tricky word because it has a lot of meanings comprised within it. And if we split up the words like business and transformation, there is so much things, again, which could be confusing a little bit, But our definition is, when we look into Wikipedia, it could be a little bit misleading, but it is in the end to change the business, adapt your business, go from A to B, and adapt to your market shift, with the shifting requirements, the new challenges the market has, and adapt your business to go from A to B in that time frame. So the only problem we see here is that just transforming your business, looking to a business, could be quite limited. Imagine I have a business running. I'm making chocolates, okay? I'm making caramel chocolates, and you will love them. I can smell it already. So
I can taste it.
Exactly, that's fantastic. Yeah. So, and you both are coming to me. So Juliet and Klaus joining my house. So I have the fantastic chocolates, and I'm showing you my business and say, I'm making those for my best friends, okay? So that's my business. And you're saying, Kadir, we have to create a business. We have to spread this, bring it to other people. And, just don't do that within Cologne. Let's sell it as well in London. They are unique. So then we're immediately creating a new company. Let's call it JKK. Okay, Juliet, Kadir, and Klaus,
Caramel
the chocolate
chocolates.
company. Exactly. So smell
very
the coffee
true,
again,
actually. Yeah.
And you will say, guys, this chocolate doesn't fly with coffee. So now suddenly we have a second business unit, and we have to go in and now merge this business together, which will not work. Klaus will say, no, hang on. I will roast my coffees as I want, okay? I have a specific procedure for that.
And the problem as well is that I'm actually measured by doing that. So, when I'm working in the organization, I'm responsible for the business unit of selling coffee. I might be in an organization that sells chocolate as well, but my target basically is sell coffee as much as possible, as broadly as possible in the markets that we're focusing on. The problem is from the enterprise, if you take a step back, the way that I run my coffee department or my coffee business unit is not really optimized in the sense that I'm taking all of the benefits from the other business unit as well. So for the business unit that does, the chocolate manufacturer, combining that with licorice and similar like that.
So it's the complexity of fusing the two things together.
Yes. So very quickly you end up in a situation where business transformation very much becomes siloed. And that's a bit of a challenge. One thing, of course, you could say if you have different business units, like the coffee and like the chocolate, you're focusing on that. But you need to take a step back as well and look at it really from the enterprise's point of view and saying, how do we maximize really from an enterprise, gaining the best from both the chocolate and the coffee world in, for instance, how we build new locations, how we combine that. And if you then even go even further and you start seeing the optimal way of doing that enterprise might not actually be in my interest always. Maybe there's something there that, from an enterprise point of view would make sense. Maybe the chocolates needs to come in and be the front line in the shop.
So the idea really is to get a business to go through the natural stages of its evolution, but at the same time, getting the key players to stand back, because sometimes, as you said, using the word silo, you do get very insular with your thinking, and it's very hard to see how to go to the next level and beyond.
Yeah, it is, and I think many companies traditionally as well expect people to do that, because it's the way we've been doing business management, it's the way we've been doing transformation for many years. So you will, as a human, perform how you're basically being measured. You know, there's a reason you get your yearly target, or basically, you know, what parameters you're being measured on, and you will actively try to achieve that. It's very rare that you have an individual who says, yeah, that does make sense, but if I actually take a step back, like I could do for my coffee department, and say, maybe there's a better way that I could combine that with the chocolate, you know, that doesn't, I'm not measuring that.
Sure.
And typically that would cause confusion as well. People are saying, you know, Kadir will come and say, why are you messing with my chocolate department now? Yeah, I'm on top of that. You go and mind your coffee. You have nothing to do over here.
So there's a reference there to territorialism, corporate territorialism.
Absolutely.
That's exactly the problem. You know, he's running now his coffee business, you know, in Denmark. You know, suddenly JKK become the coffee and chocolate, you know, caramel chocolate company. But the biggest problem is now we are running separate silos. And I will, because now I have more pressure. You know, we have no demands on the market. More people want to have the chocolates. So what I will do is I need another transformation. And if I hire a consultant and bring him in, he will tell me, you have to go digital. Go social.
No, I shouldn't laugh. Sorry, this is serious.
But it's another strand to add to the pile of worry, basically.
Honestly, Julie, it's a buzzword. Yeah, I'm being a little bit, you know, I can say that really. When you really work on that level, it's buzzwords you're working for. You know, and it's really very much like the focus areas of corporate leaders is like the spots on news. Yeah, we all have to go digital. So we all look at digital. Oh my God, we need to go digital. The point is we've been digital for 25 years. Yeah, but that's not the point. Now we're suddenly starting to how we can automate, you know, digital signatures and whatever people come up with of ideas. The next time it's all about, you know, we need to optimize.
RPA, you know, RPA is something. You know, it's all, you know, automating the process. I'm completely a fan of that. And there are really experts who are able to do that. The problem is if you take digital, you know, and put that, you know, in front of the horse, you know, and make it, you know, your goal being digital and not an enabler, then you have a problem. And this is why the most projects and transformation are failing.
What you're talking about, in essence, is companies taking the courage to move outside their comfort zone. A lot of businesses are happy to do that, but Klaus, from the way that you were talking, it seems that there are some companies which are reluctant to do this. How do you get them to actually move outside the comfort zone to go to that next level? Because otherwise, how can they grow?
So many times, actually, we get in contact with also very conservative companies. They come to us because they're worried. They're typically very pressured by the market. They suddenly see they don't have the same, you know, awareness on the market. They have a lot of competitors coming in from around the world. We really, you know, it's a global marketplace that we have. When they get to that point, really, you know, and it's a little bit unfair to say, but when you have that pain, you're also perceptible to listen to other ways of doing things. So it's very hard to go in and, you know, do come in. And I typically say that because it's rare that you will find that kind of individual from someone who comes up through the corporate life of 15 to 20 years. Because, you know, we've been corporate guys as well for many years. You get a little bit, you know, rounded around the edges, and you kind of, you're in the corporate life and you're doing your career step, you know, you do your roles for your 3 to 4 years, and then you're being minded basically for the next level and all of that. Yeah. But when the pain is there and it really hits and people get very upset, then they start looking around. Then you have an opportunity to go in and say, okay, guys, you have very good people and you have a better way to do this, and we have a proven track record how you can do that. Then they actually listen. Or you have a new person coming in, you know, to actually shuffle the cards, which is something that many organizations do as well, traditional. They sometimes have, you know, the board has an insight and says, let's bring someone in from the outside who looks at the world differently to challenge a little bit what we're doing. And that person could also bring up and say, look, we have to look at this in my experience from my other companies I work with, exactly in the sphere, the market, with the products or services that we're providing, we have to do that. And if the person is forceful enough, we can do it. If he's not, then he's doing something else the next year. Yeah, then we can't really do anything.
But then it raises a very important point, doesn't it? Because it's when a company should have that strategy. Because I mean, okay, it kicks in at the point of pain, but is there a stage at the beginning before we get there where there should at least be an awareness that we need to have that strategy?
Absolutely. I think if
should it be at the very beginning of the business journey, or can you afford to leave it a little bit later?
You know, if we have started, before we started our journey with Inspire, we had absolutely the idea to have a vision. I think that's really important, to have a vision. There are companies who have created a vision to become the world's best electronic company. It took them 50 years to achieve that vision, but they never changed their vision. So either you have a good vision and start with that and do your mission definition, like our mission or our vision is, to become the world's best enterprise transformation management company in the world. And the mission is to provide our solutions affordable to anyone, in the organizations for a fair pricing. Okay? And then based on that, you will define your goals. And then from your goals, your strategies. If we take again our chocolate company with the coffee, it started spontaneously. It was just an idea. But that idea you have to shape a little bit, because we told before about the digitalization challenge I have now in my business unit, and that's the recommendation. I can go RPI. I can do lean. I can do all those practices just for my silo, but completely detached from Klaus' department or your department or the intention the CEO has now. You will be completely have our stakeholder groups and
market
et cetera,
segments. Yeah.
Exactly. So then I can go in and make changes. Imagine somebody is coming in, the new CEO we have hired. He played golf. I think here in London it will be cricket. He will talk to his peers and get to a fantastic idea. Hey, we should, have a divestiture and get rid of the coffee business because it's so many things are going on. It's not our core business.
Yeah,
He
it's
can make
weighting
the
things
decision.
down.
Exactly. Imagine what happens then. The business will be paranoid. Productivity will go completely down. So, but if that's my core business and I can communicate that and drive the change, acquisition the same, mergers the same. We have supported mergers in our careers.
Sure.
It's becoming, a big effort in the organization to deal with that.
Right. So basically, there is a need to get you guys in early in the game so that the painful decisions, when they are made, they're not quite so painful as they distill down the chain. But I want to pick up on something that you said earlier, and perhaps you can expand on this, Klaus. It was the ambition that you had for the company to make yourselves the world leaders in your particular field. So how does UPMX fit into that? First of all, tell us in very simple terms what it is, and how that fits into your strategy of being number one, numero uno.
Yeah, so one of the products for the UPMX is exactly supporting that kind of transformation. It exactly has that business model that Kadir is speaking about as well. So it's really coming from the top down of the organization, doing the vision, doing the mission, defining the goals, defining as well the strategies that achieves the goals, defining as well which programs and projects do we have that actually transform to the strategic direction and target that we're trying to do. And then, of course, looking at it from the other side as well and seeing how does that fit actually with the capabilities that we're providing in the organization. You know, does it still fit with the high-level value chain that we have? What kind of high-level processes do we have? And also when we do transformation, it will help you as well to understand what is the impact of that transformation. So not only can you measure whether your transformations that you're doing to reach your strategies, that supports your goals, that in the end will bring the mission and vision of what you're doing, it measures on the other side as well and saying, look, if you have projects, what are they actually impacting in your organization? What does it do to your process landscape? What does it do to your infrastructure, for instance, of IT? What does it do to my capabilities of what I'm providing of different products and so on? So you need to have exactly that kind of holistic feeling. You know, I always use the picture, you know, it's like the spider web. When you do a transformation, that's exactly what we're talking about. If you're pulling here, you need to understand how that impacts all the other dots that you have in your spider web. And knowing if you're pulling in that direction, is that actually as well what you want to achieve as the company? And that is exactly a way that we created a model based on our experience with all the, I don't know how many companies by now we work with, but also, you know, and our personal experience, we created a model where we say, this is how you very quickly can understand what you have, where you're going, what kind of transformation you're needing, and you can measure that as well. You know, I think I spoke to one CEO as well in a large German organization who said, you know what, my biggest problem, Klaus, is I've defined a strategy for the company. I have no feeling how well that's actually being implemented in my organization. I don't know. Yeah, you can run projects, but are people actually on board? Do we actually have people with the right mindset? Do they understand what they need to do? You know, you need to have a way to measure the transformation by itself, to really clearly define where you're going. But coming a little bit back to the question about courage, you know, we work with so many companies as well who does, you know, we do a strategy for 2 years. Come on, guys, really? Yeah, you know, yeah, we set a strategy for 2 years. In the modern world of which we are living in today, you need to be willing to assess your strategy basically every time you have an impact. It could be an exterior impact, it could be an interior impact, a change that happens, and really measure, is it still the right strategy? Are we still doing the right things? I know it's breaking a little bit the traditional ways because you plan, you know, projects and programs that does the transformation over the year.
It's a very fixed timeline.
You put the budget aside, you put the people aside, yada, 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 and so on. The traditional way of doing that. But, you know, I don't think in the year 2018 that you can afford to do that anymore.
Reality is different.
You need to be agile.
Yeah, that's something I'd like to develop actually in this question. It's really in terms of the trend in industry today. Because you're talking about something which is very traditional. Do you sense that is breaking, and does that give the concept of business transformation more leverage? I mean, what is the current trend?
Yeah, the trend we are seeing is, I think Klaus was talking about the model, the ontology we have created, bringing everything together. And that really requires that you're breaking up that silos. So we see, and we have started our journey over 3 years ago, you know, where we see that certain, you know, industry standard practices are merging together, like project portfolio management. You know, it's getting aligned with strategic planning and application portfolio management, business process management, so IT service management. You know, those things are getting interconnected, and there is a natural need for that. You know, again, we spoke about our business. We are changing, we're doing things, so we have to communicate. We need to know if we change something here, what's the impact over there? You know, if we don't do that, we are losing completely. And this is why most, you know, transformation projects are failing. They are not successful. Again, it's said, you know, you need the enabler. You know, you need those new terms, the digitalization. You know, and by the way, regarding UPMX, another thing we have a breakthrough is solving one of the biggest industry problems as well. It's getting the data and getting the data right. Yeah? So that's a big problem. So the ontology, the model, that's great, you know. But if you establish that on the organization, you will quickly see, I can't get the data. So you're then going, go data, you know. You went digital, social, and now you're going data and having this big data problem and, you know, doing integrations. But the time to market when you have a problem and asking the question to get that data in that data quality that it provides you high value in terms of a decision making, so will be the key thing to do. So, and UPMX is exactly doing that. So it's not just, you know, the problem in the industry is, you know, have this holistic view, you know, and this is exactly what UPMX is providing. And we're providing that on a platform which is de facto standard on the market. And it's very interesting that we have created something on a service management platform. It's called ServiceNow. Because most people are using it.
You don't know the detail of your organization.
You've got to
how
look
that
at things
actually
the other
works.
side as well.
If you come from the bottom up, yeah, you have all the details, but you don't have the holistic view of what you're actually doing. Yeah, so many times they end up somewhere and then they just hear from their managers or manager's manager, yeah, that's cool, but that's really not what we wanted to do. We need to budget differently, which causes immense frustration, of course, from people, you know, who work with that. And as Kadir said with the trend about, you know, how many times haven't we heard the question, you know, am I investing in the right things? Yeah. Okay, one thing is PPM. We talk about PPM, project portfolio management. Yeah, it's the execution of the project. That's fine. We have it from A to Z. We can execute the product. We do our milestones. We do our resources. We do our skill sets. We put our timelines up. We have our baselines. We have our, you know, actual cost. We have our planned cost and so on. But that's just an execution of a transformation. What about all the layers around? Do we actually know that we're putting the money into the right project and the right program?
So something like this is also important from a shareholder's perspective as well.
Immensely important.
Right, it makes the company more attractive for investors if they can see that these systems are in place, the systems that you implement, because they think, okay, everybody's communicating, everybody's working together. An expression in English, we're all singing off the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, exactly. And why we do the transformation? It's, you know, to provide value to the company and to the stakeholders or shareholders. You know, it's in terms of margin. And when we say enterprise, it goes as well into non-profit organizations, but they have value as well. Establish the right processes to align the people, process, and technologies. Exactly. And have that umbrella view where you're breaking up those silos, but still the silos will operate for themselves. for certain things, but they always know, okay, that's the value I provide, that's the cost I'm providing, that's the people I need, but on the other hand, I understand that's the way I have to go, that's the strategy I need to fulfill and contribute.
Right.
So we can measure the value of any asset in the organization and reflect that to the strategic importance of the enterprise.
Okay. Now, this is at this point of the interview where I like everyone to actually project into the future. So, very briefly, we know that you want to be where you want to be as the numero uno, the world's #1 in your field. What's your timeline? Will you, if we're together in 5 years' time, will you be there? If we're having this conversation, where will you be?
We hope so. But this is a major transformation of every enterprise. You know, and this is, I think, if you look into the analyst, what the researchers, what they are doing, so they have identified, you know, 3 major things, basically. One thing is exactly that those disciplines are merging together. It will just take time. You know, it's a big change process. It's a big transformation. It's a mind shift of people, and you have to anchor a practice in your organization to get that manageable. The other stuff is artificial intelligence, machine learning, to establish that. You know, on the one hand, it's very science fiction, but I have seen things which are just awesome. You know, and those are the things we want to leverage. So that's the future that we say we want to, you know, bring in those new technologies. And innovation comes with technology. And the transformation I need in my business comes with the technology. There's a famous S-curve of the technology. You know, there is a jump. And if I have an emerging technology and I can implement that in my organization quickly, I have a competitive advantage.
Right. But in 5 years, you'll have actually completed the S.
Well, it's you know, every enterprise is like an ecosystem. It's ever changing, and it's a moving target. You will never say, I'm done with my transformation.
And the fact is as well, corporations do traditionally not change that fast. There's a lot of things that needs to happen. So we spoke about the pain points. You know, if I'm being very frank, sometimes it's also about having the right people. And sometimes you need an exchange of people who's been sitting there for quite a while to really, you know, get the opportunity to think different, to do things different, and so on. So, but I think I will not even say job. I think it's our responsibility because we've seen really the light of where we need to go with that, and that's why we're doing, you know, what we're doing. It's not just to, you know, as we spoke about earlier, it's not just to earn a lot of money and drive the Porsches and
wear the crocodile shoes.
Which we're not, by the way, wear the crocodile shoes. Yeah. It's all about being in a place where we bring, you know, the way of doing business to the next level.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really the passion that we go in with in doing this.
Right. So we're going to have a lot to talk about in 5 years' time.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yes. Guys, we're going to have to leave that there. But Kadir and Klaus, thank you so much for joining me, and good luck with your plans for domination in the future.
Pleasure. Thanks so much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Now we need a chocolate and a coffee.
Yeah, the chocolate and the coffee, yeah. And not in my kitchen. It's too small. It can't accommodate your ambition.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.